just yet. So reminder to everyone, first of all, that the session is being recorded and that it's in meeting mode, which means we can see and hear everybody. So please keep yourself on mute unless you're speaking. The chat function is available so that you can chat with each other and so that you can ask questions. And if you want to raise your hand, you just hit the reactions button on your screen, and that will give you the ability to raise your hand and lower your hand. So first, I'm going to turn it over to Nicole, and she's going to introduce you to your panel, and we're going to give them a chance to speak, and then we'll turn it over to you. Oh, I see Dennis. I see Dennis. There he is. Hi, Dennis. Do you want to say hi? Great. Okay, good. Nicole, I'm turning it over to you.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining the Travel with PH panel. Today we have Kelly Conley, Jazz James, and Dennis Wito. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. I went to Google to make sure I was pronouncing it properly. I just want to let you know that we are patients who've had experience with traveling with PH, but we are not medical professionals, obviously. I'm going to assume you're here because you enjoy traveling or you enjoyed traveling prior to maybe a PH diagnosis, or you're interested in traveling with PH. And whether you're on oxygen or IV meds or a whole slew of oral medications, I'm sure all those things weigh on your mind as well. So we're here to answer some questions to the best of our abilities. And if not, we can always get those answers for you, that's for sure. And we'll do it the best we can. So since I'm speaking, I'll just start right now. I'm Nicole Dempsey, and I've been diagnosed with PH for 7 years. And prior to that, I traveled pretty extensively with my family. And so when I was diagnosed, I wasn't going to let it stop me. And I knew that I was going to continue doing it no matter what. And so when I was diagnosed, it was just oral medications for me. But after a year, I went on IV. And so that became a little more tedious and complicated, if you will. But it really, you know, once you travel once and you get the hang of it with all that you need to travel, everything kind of falls into place. And so since diagnosis, I've been to Mexico 7 times, and St. Martin, and to the east and west coast of Canada, and to a few spots in the States. So it's doable, and it's all airplane. The only place so far I haven't been to is Europe, but someone on this panel has, so that's doable as well. So I'll pass it now to Kelly to introduce herself, and then we'll go to Jazz and Dennis.
Hi, my name is Kelly Conley, and I was diagnosed 3 years ago in October of 2018 with PAH. I also have scleroderma, which I was diagnosed in 2003. My husband and I, prior to diagnosis, my husband and I were motorcyclists. I didn't drive the motorcycle, but my husband did, and I was on the back. And we traveled everywhere. We went as far as Florida. In actually early 2018, we went as far as Florida and back. I live in at the time I was living in the Lower Mainland of Vancouver area, BC. And so that was 29 days on the road on a motorcycle. And so when I got diagnosed, similar to Nicole, I wasn't going to let that stop me riding the bicycle or the motorcycle. And so the problem was I ended up having to use oxygen at night and oxygen for exertion. So getting on and off the bike, I needed the oxygen. And when I was at whatever hotel I was at, I needed the oxygen. So we worked out a system of between POCs and cylinders, and I still rode the bike. So it can be done. So I've also been to Hawaii twice with oxygen on the plane, and I've also traveled domestically with oxygen cylinders on the plane. So that's my story.
Great. Sorry about that. Thanks, Kelly. Jazz, your turn.
Hi, I'm Jazz, and I'm coming up on 20 years for diagnosis. I have lupus as well, and I'm only on oral meds, but I am on oxygen at night, and I've been to Hawaii several times. I've been to Mexico. I've been across Canada, and I've been to a lot of places in the States, and actually in a lot of the conferences I traveled by myself. And now sometimes I need a little more help with my concentrator because the airline won't put it up top for me. And I'm pretty short. I need somebody to lift it, and the stewardess won't lift it. And I'm finding cruises are easy for me now, especially if they come out of Vancouver, because you can take whatever you want and just walk on. That's my story, and I'm going to keep traveling once everything opens up. I haven't been further than Mexico, US, or Canada since my diagnosis.
Thanks, Jazz. Dennis? You might be on mute. Okay, maybe Dennis is having technical difficulties. Okay. Sorry, I'm on mute as well. So perhaps Dennis is on mute or he's having technical difficulties. Dennis, when you're ready, just come on. So how we'll do this is I'd like this to be a dialogue, and I'm going to assume a lot of people have questions, and especially given COVID and getting back into traveling, since we haven't traveled in a year and a half, let's say. And I know there's a new stress involved in that as well. And I know a lot of us are probably anxious to get back to traveling. So please, if you have questions, can you ask them in the comments, and or raise your hand so that we can get to you. I know there was a question here about, because I see a few people are on oxygen in the room. How difficult is it to arrange for oxygen at the end location, especially if it is outside of Canada? Jazz, have you ever had to do that?
Yeah, I arranged oxygen a long time ago in Hawaii. I actually found the receipt the other day, and it was through Hawaii Home Care. And, you know, they were really good. I phoned them ahead of time. I did it by myself. I didn't go through my oxygen company, and they delivered it and they picked it up. I used it for 10 days. So I don't know, you know, if you can phone around and just contact them there and find out if you can get it.
Yeah, I also know that depending on your carrier, if the same carrier is there, I think you can arrange it somehow that way. In the early stages, I was on oxygen as well. And I know that was one way that was given to me as a way to do it for oxygen. If there's anyone else here with experience that has answers to these questions, please feel free to raise your hand, or like I said, say something in the comments. Brooke, is that your hand raised? I think I'm, and you're on mute.
Thank you. I don't know how to unraise my hand now. There we go. There we go. No, so my question, obviously, I'm relatively new to IV medications, and we are hoping, now that things are starting to open up, we're hoping to go out west on a bit of a road trip. And so to any IV users out there, this will be my first time traveling while on IV medication. So obviously A, with the line, and B, with the pump. What are some tips and tricks, for lack of better words, that you would suggest? What should I be aware of? What should I be mindful of? If I do fly, what is airport security like? Do I need letters of kind of confirmation, if you will, from my doctor saying that this is a medical purpose, if you will? Or I guess what's your experience been, and what should I look out for?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I know that a few people on here probably are likely on IV meds. And while I'm no longer on IV meds, I was 6 years. So I do have a lot of experience with that in doing cross-country road trip and on airplane. And so cross-country, we did Eastern Canada. And the great thing is, you know, I think you have to mix your own meds, right? With Remodulin. Yeah, so with Caripol here, we got them delivered to us every 7 days. So when I traveled, I brought those. No, actually I didn't. They actually shipped me my shipment there at the hotel where I was at. So Shoppers or McKesson, they're quite accommodating as far as that is concerned. I even had my meds shipped to me in Vancouver as well, so that I didn't have to travel with them, which was really nice. Yeah, when I go over, you know, the 7 days being away, I bring all supply, like, you know, you bring a backup of supplies to mix while you're there. I'm not 100% sure how Remodulin works, but I know it's similar to Caripol. As far as airports, and a lot of people will tell you this, always just be, you know, whether you need a letter or not, and I have never once been asked to look at my letter. I always get one. Dr. Mehta writes me a letter and it's never been looked at. And in 6 years in traveling with IV, once my bags have been, my carry-ons have been searched and looked at, my cassettes. They get, and the other panelists, maybe it was Dennis had said, the airport security, they get really, it's almost like they get scared when they see you have a pump. And so they don't want to touch it. They're very, I find I've always been, it's been very accommodating to me. And hopefully other people have that experience as well. And they'll ask permission if to swab it. Are you allowed to go through the x-ray? Do you need to come around? They're all very good about it. And honest, knock on wood, no problems. But carry your letter, get your meds in your carry-on, obviously. And yeah, it's never been an issue, and it's pretty smooth sailing as far as I'm concerned. And I know, just give me a sec here because I have some people might have some. Yeah, so someone said in Manitoba that they have their own, they have to mix their own in Manitoba, and when you travel, you have to bring it with you. So
I can.
Oh, someone wants to speak to your question, Brooke, and it's Caitlin.
Hi, Brooke. Hi, Nicole. Thanks. So I'm in BC, and I've got to mix Caripol and our cassettes as well. And I traveled to October last year. October. I traveled to Ontario last year in October. And it was my first time traveling since diagnosis. So it was a pretty overwhelming experience for me. I was traveling alone. I probably should have asked for wheelchair assistance at the airport. I definitely regret that. You know, I'm like to think that I'm young and tough, and that I didn't need it. But honestly, between you know, having just the medicine, like I was staying there for about just over a week. So I brought the supplies to mix there and not pre-mixed, just because of the duration of the flight. I was a little bit worried about how cold my medicine would be able to be kept in even just like a little baby cooler. I wasn't sure if it would last long enough to get from Surrey to the airport to waiting for the flight, and then getting to where I was staying on the other side. So I just thought it would be easier to mix there. But yes, definitely wheelchair assistance from the airport would have been a huge deal. As far as airport security, Nicole is right. They are very nervous when you point to the fact that you have a pump. I tried to communicate it as well as I could to each person that I was coming across to. Like as soon as I got into like where you like put your bags through the little scanner thingy, I told the first person, hey, I have a medical device. Here's a heads up. What do I need to do? I have a letter. in my hands. Nobody wants to see the letter. Nobody ever cares about the letter. And I thought it would be such a bigger deal, but they don't. And honestly, I think that they thought I had a weapon. And my pump is pretty clearly like it's on a fanny pack that is on my hip, and it's got my tubes with a little bit of slack on it. And I pointed to the next person, hey, I have a pump here. And they were like ready, getting their tasers ready to go and everything. So I was really, you know, for a first time traveler with PH, it was pretty stressful situation, especially being by myself. But they went in, they swabbed me with all the things, and they went in on my my carry-on bag, which had all my medicine in it. So they were rifling through that. I do suggest, if they're going to do that, that you ask them to change their gloves before they rifle through all your stuff, obviously, because it's medical. Like I had each of my days in a Ziploc bag just so it would be like extra protected from if that happened. But yeah, definitely ask them to change your gloves before. And if it's fine, it would have been nice to have some assistance on the plane, because I too, like Jazz, am short. To, you know, hoist my big thing of meds and batteries and everything up onto the to the cabin shelf. But yeah, it was the same experience on the way back, unfortunately. So kind of prepare yourself mentally for it, if that helps, just in case it does happen. But yeah, it was definitely the same on the way back, even just within Canada. But other than that, I think that was really just my experiences as far as plane travel goes. But camping hasn't been an issue so far. I even went on a house and for about half a week, and that went really well. So it can be done.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for that. I appreciate it. I know Ella in the comments, and she said, when you travel with carry pole, is it best to bring pre-mix or? And to be honest, I've done both, and I've always traveled with packs. So, so the pre-mix stayed cold, and I had no issue. Cold packs were still frozen when I got to my destination. I see Ruth has her hand up. Just give me 1 second. I just want to make sure I've answered all the questions regarding the travel with IV. And I know Joan asked to give a little bit more information, but I think I answered that. Okay. All right. All right. All right, Ruth, your turn, and you're on mute. Ruth, you're on mute. There
you go. Okay. Actually, I was just trying to get this Zoom going and trying to figure out how it was all working, because I had a black screen. But no, it's really interesting. I do all my travel by car, and I had trouble. I used a walker, and oh God, do you stop like at intervals or what? I don't know. I didn't really have a question. This is great.
Yeah. Well, so what a lot of people do in the airport, and someone did mention that in the comments, is get a wheelchair. And I mean, yeah, it's really great if you need it. So far, I've not used it just because it's just all in my head where I just want to do it. But at times I was like, oh man, I could really use a break. And yeah, I mean, if you're walking, take breaks, give yourself tons of time at the airport, obviously, which you should be doing anyway. But most people that I know that get a wheelchair have always had great success. You know, you're brought to the gate, you're brought onto the airplane if you need. And I mean, there's some other panelists here who could probably attest to that. Jazz, have you had the wheelchair? You're on mute.
Am I on now? Yeah. Yeah, I haven't used a wheelchair yet. And one time I was at the wrong gate. I had 5 minutes. And I'll tell you, I was like almost collapsing by the time I got to my gate. So it was kind of a lesson.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think the people who use it definitely don't regret it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ellie, have you ever had experience
Yes.
with? Yeah.
I used a wheelchair well, what happened was the first time I was traveling, I was taking a flight from Vancouver to Prince George to see my kids at Christmas. And it was quite interesting because it was a week before my flight that I had the PH specialist appointment, and he said, "You're going on a plane on Friday?" I said, "Yeah." You probably can't breathe on that plane. This is before I was on oxygen. I said, "What?" He says, "We'll get you in for a test tomorrow, and then you might need oxygen on the plane." And that's exactly what happened. I did the test. They said, "You need oxygen on the plane." So like Wednesday, I am working with the fabulous PH nurses in Vancouver to get this cylinder to go on the plane for a 1-hour flight. And so I just booked the wheelchair because I knew that if I was using the oxygen to get to the plane, I wouldn't have enough to fly. So, and even when I went to Hawaii, I had my POC because they don't take cylinders internationally. You need a POC internationally. And I had 4 batteries, each lasting about 2.5 hours. I rented them from my supplier. And so the 6-hour flight, it was like I needed all 4 for the 6-hour flight just in case. So I just literally said, I need a wheelchair. And it was great. They wheelchaired me right up to the front of the plane. I walked to my seat in Huatulco in Mexico. Was it Huatulco? No, it was in Hawaii. Yes, it was in Hawaii. I mean, the guy's pushing the thing. I'm going, "Oh, good thing I lost some weight because, you're pushing me up the ramp." He goes, "Oh, you should see my mama. I push her all the time." And up he goes. He was so nice. So like literally take advantage of that wheelchair. Don't feel bad because it's there. They like to help you.
Yeah. I'll get to you 1 second, Jeannie. I see your hand. I just want to add to that. And Sonia made a comment in the messages where she said she had a last minute gate, and it made me remember that I did too. And we really had to haul our butts over to the next gate. And I thought I was going to die. And I thought, this is ridiculous. And even with those walking modes that kind of help you, this was in a Detroit airport, and it was a little bit of a nightmare, and I thought, never again. So yeah, thanks for bringing that up too, Sonia. Jeannie, you're on.
Okay, I just wanted to say that I've used the wheelchair too, and that when you have the airlines provide you with the wheelchair, they pick you up right at when you sign in, and they take you right to the airport. And in Halifax, I remember that they had a go-kart that came with a driver, and it took me from one gate to the other, and that was amazing. So it's really helpful, to have their support.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks for that. It's great. If you have experience, definitely, and can add to these conversations too. So I don't want to be jumping all over, but the questions might make me do that. And I might go back sometimes to topics just based on the nature of the questions. I just wanted to come back quickly to the travel with carry pull or IV meds. Sonia made another good point of charging the batteries, always traveling with extra pumps, extra batteries. I always had a carry-on just that had my supplies, and they were all there, all in one spot, and always had more than enough than the amount of days that I was going to be going away. Joan, Brooke's mom, Joan, asked about the metal detectors, and that's a really good question. I know a lot of people with a pump were really afraid of going through the metal detectors, and they wouldn't do it, and they would request to go around, and most security will let you do that. And in fact, they would always offer me, and this is my experience. I always went through them. I didn't care. And nothing ever happened to my pump. It didn't malfunction or anything like that. But they'll give you the choice. They're like, can you come through here? And like I said, they're always a little afraid on how to deal with you. Otherwise, you just kind of walk around the metal detector. But that's a good question, but like I said, personal preference, and a lot of people just do kind of what they feel comfortable with. So there's a ton of O2 oxygen questions, and I'm going to try to address those and get some people who have experience with that. Maybe Jeannie, you could help on this. And Dennis, if you're in the room, can you say here? I did see Dennis, but I don't know. Okay. Because one of the questions,
Nicole, I think he's on the line, but for some reason it seems his
Can
audio.
you hear me?
Oh, now
Yeah.
I hear you, Dennis. There you are.
You can hear me?
Yeah.
yay.
Okay, that's good. That's great. That's great.
Want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Dennis. I live in Langley, BC, and I'm out of the Vancouver PH department there. And I've traveled. I'm no longer on IV, but it's only been a year that I've been off IV. However, 4.5 years prior to this, I was on the pump and I was on IV, and I have traveled. I've gone to Disneyland and Vegas, and went on a cruise, went to Miami, went to Italy for a month. So I've traveled quite a bit with IV, and because of this whole COVID thing, I've not had the opportunity to travel without the pump. But so I've had some experience with traveling with IV.
Okay, that's great. So someone had a question about traveling longer than 5 hours, which obviously you do, given that you went to Italy. And it was Carl, and I'm just going back up to his question here. How do I get all my meds to my European destination?
Oh, okay. So I did have to pack, and I take it all on carry-on. So it's quite a bit, like, especially if you're mixing, that is quite a bit of baggage to take with you.
Especially, you said you went for a month.
Yeah. So what I had to do is I had to deal with a team in Vancouver, and they're very, very helpful on giving me the extra meds, giving me the extra pumps. I think I traveled with 3 pumps to go to Italy, and I had ample amount of material to mix when I was there. And I had to work with my nurse in Vancouver, and she supplied me with everything I needed to go on this trip.
Okay. That's great. Thanks.
Yeah.
So a couple of, a few oxygen questions, and please, I had to sign in through my phone, so I'm just scrolling through all the messages. And if I missed any of your questions, please raise your hand or just ask them again if I don't address them or ask them, or if anyone hasn't answered your question. So I guess some of the oxygen questions are, let's see here. Is there a type of oxygen that works better for flying? I have tanks and a battery concentrator. So can anyone address this with the tanks, what you would do in this situation? Jeannie?
When you're traveling by airlines, you need to have airline approved concentrators. And so if you're on liquid oxygen like I am, you're not permitted to use liquid oxygen on the plane. So when you contact your oxygen provider, you can have them arrange for you the kind of POC that would work best for you. I've tried the Eclipse, which is the sequel Eclipse. It's like a little small suitcase. It weighs about 30 pounds. It's heavy to haul around. And then each of the batteries weigh about, I think, 3 to 5 pounds. And you need 1.5 times the amount of battery with you for the length of your trip. So that sort of helps supply you during the layovers. Now I found when I used that, and I used the battery, I used it and I found that I was using it in the airport, and by the time I got on the plane, I actually ran out before I got to my destination. So I learned that while I'm in the airport during layover, I have to find an outlet and charge my battery. So at least that battery and the spare battery would be enough to get me to my destination.
Right. Yes. Perfect. Thank you. Diane, do you have stuff to add to that?
I think Jeannie kind of answered as far as flying in the plane. Yes, of the medical approval and all the rest of it. And that worked very, very well. I guess I am looking at a portable concentrator to take everywhere, even for me to go out, because I just need it for exertion if I get too much or if I, really poop out. And I do have a battery, but I can't, it's starting to get heavy as far as pulling it. So I was wondering if anybody had any experience with backpacks. I don't use cylinders as a rule. And I do have a home concentrator, but when I'm out and about, even for walks and everything, sometimes I take it and sometimes I don't, just depending on how I feel. So as I say, the battery pack is starting to get too heavy for me to walk with.
Okay. If someone has some experience with a backpack, please let me know in the comments. Ruth did have her hand.
Yes.
Yeah, are you there?
Oh, yeah, but you already answered my
Oh, no.
question.
Sorry, I meant Lynn. I'm sorry. Lynn had her hand up and you can go ahead. You're just on mute.
Hi, guys. I have traveled on airplanes with a personal oxygen concentrator. I borrowed mine from ProRes, my oxygen provider. I find that when I'm in the air, I'm usually at 4 liters on exertion, but when I'm in the air, I'm maxed at 6. And I still have a hard time breathing with it, sometimes at 6. So I always make sure I have more than 1.5 times battery, because I'm not just using it at 4, I'm using it at 6 in the air. We've always flown with WestJet. They have been absolutely fantastic. We upgrade so that we get more legroom. So I've got room for the PCO or POC to go in there. And I just recently learned on the website that apparently WestJet will let you have your companion fly for free, but I don't know how to do that because we obviously haven't traveled for quite some time. But we always upgrade into a seat that has more legroom to accommodate all the equipment, because the POC is awkward and it's on wheels and it goes underneath the seat in front of you, but it does take up a lot of space. Also, my husband and I are both big people, but so it works out really well. But one of the flight attendants on each flight I've been on, there's been a flight attendant that has been personally assigned to me, so that I have, if I need anything, she's there or he's there, and they're there to assist you to get on and off. They also have other clientele that they're taking care of, but they've always been great. I learned when my mom was unwell to always make sure that you get a wheelchair in the airport, because Pearson is a maze. But if you get the wheelchair, it is amazing how short the distance really is from point A to point B. They don't have you walking around in queues everywhere to get, through 3 buildings before you get to where you need to be, which was actually just one flight down from where you were standing when you originally came in. We have gotten insurance online, and they do take people that have pulmonary hypertension, but I'm not sure who the company was and if there's a better company out there. I've never had to use it when I was away. But those are our experiences. I can't wait to travel again. But and for walking, I have cylinders that I walk with that are on wheels. I used to put the backpack on with the small M6 cylinder in it, but it is very, very stressful on your back and wears you out. So if you have something that you can have on wheels that you can push around, that's safer for your back, and it's less exhausting to carry that around. Yeah. And I think that's about it for me. Thank you very much for listening.
That's great. Thank you so much for your input. So I wanted to get back to Diane for a sec, and Winnie said that she has a backpack that she loves and she gardens and bikes with it. So there you go. Maybe she can give more information on that after. Ella did say that she can answer something, and I'm sure it was about oxygen, so I'll let her speak because I've forgotten. So Ella, just unmute yourself and you can go ahead.
It's not about the oxygen, it's actually about WestJet's policy.
Oh, perfect. Thanks.
I did it for Vancouver conference, and what you do is you go to WestJet, you ask them to send out it's like a questionnaire or something, or like you would do for your CPP benefit package, right? You go and ask them for that, and you take it to your PH doctor. He fills it out, and then you send it into WestJet, and then they approve it.
Okay.
And
yeah,
but we found out with us, because we have young kids, that when we were going to Vancouver, if we used that companion, he could not be the companion to our kids. He could only be a companion to me, and he couldn't have care and control of our kids. So we would have had to have an extra person fly with us for our kids.
Right.
Because we did take our kids.
Yeah, that's a good point. Thanks for bringing that up. But I know a lot of people who travel WestJet do take advantage of it, and it seems pretty easy to navigate in getting it. On the backpack point, I have someone else who said that they found the backpack to be cumbersome and quite warm on your back when wearing it, and they changed over to a shoulder bag and have a double battery with theirs. I'm just gonna check here. Someone did have their hand up, but I think it's Diane. Do you still have your hand up or no? Okay. All right. So I'm just going to go to a question here with travel again for Dennis. The question is for you. Did you pack a month's worth of carry pull and all syringes and water on your carry-on, or did you pack a big suitcase and put it in the checked baggage? That's for you, Dennis, and you might be on mute.
Hi there. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, great. No, I did not trust traveling to, say, Europe with travel like luggage in a plane. You'd never know if it arrived with you, right? So I wish I had it here, but I have a big Costco travel on case, That's
Mhm.
all my supplies and a backpack. So I was able to have a 1 month supply there. And if you are traveling with a partner, then use, his back carry on to put more supplies if you need it. But I found that I could put 2 months worth of supply in one case if you pack it nicely
Right.
with everything that you need and more. I've always brought more. If I was there for a month, I'd bring 6 weeks worth of supplies, or even 2 months, I think, at the time. I didn't
Mhm.
didn't want to risk anything, because sometimes you make a mistake when you're mixing, or who knows what happens when you're away.
Yeah. Yeah. No. That. A good point here by Sonia is she says patients with POCs are not allowed in bulkheads or exit rows, which is fact. And that's for safety, and it has to be stored under the seat, and that's why it can't be in the bulkhead. For the WestJet, they call it one person, one fare, where your caregiver travels for free. So I'm going to move on here to insurance, because I know that's a huge a huge thing on people's minds. And because there have been a lot of comments, not to say that I can't go back to oxygen and other things. Some people want to know about success in getting travel insurance and want to share this experience. Some people want to know if you have experience with a better insurance company. Beth in the comments said that she's called Blue Cross regarding travel, and they had 3 things that would have made insurance difficult or not allowed. And she had none of those issues. And if she remembers correctly, there were terminal illnesses, which PH is not. So yes, PH is fatal, but not terminal. And terminal means you'll pass away within 3 months. The others were heart disease, like blocked coronary arteries that might need surgery soon, and dialysis. So PH was not a problem with getting regular travel insurance. Depends on each person's situation, of course, but they were really accommodating. Thanks for that answer. That's really thorough. And does anyone else, I'm going to put the question out there, have any questions, or sorry, have any experience with obtaining travel insurance? Maybe, the cost, was it costly where you traveled, if it was out of state, or sorry, out of country, to the States or to Europe? Some people don't travel with insurance, and that's fine too. And like I said, we're all just going to go with what we're comfortable with. So if anyone has anything to say about that could help anyone else looking at getting insurance, that would be appreciated.
I just have a comment.
Yeah, thanks.
I don't really have experience, so I won't talk on that. But one thing that I do know through kind of my professional based insurance is that you typically have to be stable, or what they would consider stable, for a 3-month period.
Yes, thank
you. PH or not.
Yeah. Thanks for that. That's good. Yes, Kelly?
Also, I know it's kind of funny, I'm just thinking about it now, but we used to have travel insurance with BCAA in British Columbia here, yearly, my husband and I, because we traveled a lot. We went across the States on a weekend or whatever on the motorcycle. And I remember when he was turning 60 and it was going to go up. So what they suggested he do was purchase his yearly insurance the day before he turned 60. So that it was good for the full year. So I thought, oh yeah, I'll do that. Well, this past year has been such a mess. I turned 60 in March and I didn't even think about it. But as it is, I don't know that I'll be using my insurance this year anyway. So anyway, but that's something to think about.
Yeah, no, for sure. Thanks for that. Beth?
For me, it was only $27 to go to the States for a week. I don't know, it was like $350 a day or something. And I had PH or PAH. And the other thing, what Brooke brought up about stable, I did learn that if you've had a medication change at all within a certain number of days, and I think it was 90 days, but I can't quite remember, any medication change, they weren't going to honor their insurance, except for like comagulant, blood thinners. That was the only thing that they would accept a normal, you could change that 16 times, didn't matter to them, but the
Right.
other drugs, they did say don't change.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's great. Thanks. A couple of points here, fine print, right? With everything, read the fine print. Like Jazz said, with oxygen and age, there's going to be an issue there. They'll take that into account. And what was I going to say here? It does make a difference. Grace says that an insurance provider will always sell you insurance, but will they pay out if they really need to? And again, look at the fine print to make sure they will cover an issue you already have. Yes, you don't want to be stuck if you rely on insurance. Jazz says, I can get travel insurance, but I've never had to use it. Okay. There are new products on the market for insurance. Okay. Do we have any more questions on insurance? I'm just sorry.
To ask everybody out there, is not PH considered a pre-existing condition? You know, that's what it were. Because anybody here had something happen to them with PH somewhere else? If there's anybody who had an experience that they need to get hospitalized somewhere else besides Canada, I would like them to speak up, because I'm really curious to know what the problems have happened to anybody who's out there on this panel.
Like, are you asking if I'm in Mexico and suddenly I have appendicitis and I go to the hospital and then insurance comes at me and says, well, you have PH? And
yes,
yeah,
yes,
I gotcha.
Has it happened to you?
It hasn't. No.
Well, okay, but if anybody else in this who has PH, because you know, I've been denied because I have a pre-existing condition, stable or not stable or what. But if anybody on this panel has had an incident that happened, like they got hit by a bus or broke a leg, but they have PH, like does that
make it? Yeah, I don't know. No, I was just clarifying your question. So if anyone's has experience traveling with insurance and had something totally unrelated to your PH happen, let us know. Just checking here. A lot of insurance will not cover you if you have used O2 within the last year, oxygen within the last year. Sonia used to sell travel insurance as a travel agent, so has a little experience on that. Getting back to oxygen for a sec here. Jeannie says to Vanda, I hope I'm saying that properly, or Vanda, you could arrange with your oxygen provider to provide you with a car charger for your POC. You should also have an AC/DC charger. Okay, so Sonia has a situation about the insurance that Dennis addressed. So Sonia, there you go. Unmute yourself and you're good to go.
Hi. It wasn't to me personally that it happened, but when I was a travel agent, we had a lady who had a pre-existing condition, and she fell and broke her leg, like just tripped up in a sidewalk, like had nothing to do with her pre-existing condition. But insurance ended up not covering her because they said, well, you know, you probably passed out or got weak because of your condition, and that's why you fell and broke your leg. So you really need to be careful with that sort of stuff and make sure you read the fine lines and call the insurance companies and question them over and over and over.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for that.
No worries.
Yeah, no, 100%. More questions? Any hand raising? Okay, is there any particular company that's better for insurance? Anyone? Does anyone have any thoughts on that? You can just blurt out if you want. You can unmute yourself and.
I know a friend of mine said BCAA was good, and she gave every detail of what she had wrong, and they insured her. It cost a lot of money, but they insured her, and she wasn't flying, just driving.
Okay. And what would be a lot of money, do you think? Like 1,000?
2,000 and something for 2 weeks, I think.
2,000? Okay. Yeah, and with insurance, you get it in writing, right? Like you're gonna just want all of this in writing for sure.
Hello.
Yep.
We're retired. We have under MedOff, we have a really good insurance plan. It isn't available to everybody, but it's Johnson and Johnson that underwrites it. I know outside of our plans, they are a good cover.
Okay, I want to clarify. Did you say Johnson and Johnson?
Yes,
Okay.
that's correct. Yes.
And you have a plan with them?
Yeah, we're covered under what's called MedOff, and it's for retired civil servants in militaries. And it's actually very, very, very reasonable what we pay.
Okay.
I'm paying $30 a month, and I pay every month whether I travel or not. But I'm covered unconditionally for the first 40 days, no pre-existing, no nothing. Even if you change your medication, we're covered for the first 40 days. Once you go beyond 40 days, then it starts to get pricey.
Okay, that's great. That's good to know. All right, just going to get back to some message questions here. FYI, people are waving hands in person and not hitting the button. Okay. All right. So if you can put your hand up with the button, because if you wave, I can't see you. I can see 4 people at a time unless I screen over, because I'm just on my cell phone. So I only see 4 people at a time per screen. So I won't be able to see you. So please, there should be a raised hand button at the bottom of your screen. And I think, yeah, okay. I got that question. So Eleanor has her hand up. I see that. Go ahead.
We found that because I travel with Oxygen, that we had difficulty with BCAA, and Blue Cross would cover my husband, but not me. And so we've been dealing with Travel Guardian for years and years and years. As a matter of fact, the agent we dealt with, we requested an email because of all this fine print stating about my pH condition and that I was using Oxygen and that the insurance would cover me. So I don't know if it's because of the agent I dealt with or it's just the company, but I know that I've referred them to many family members who travel, and they've all been happy with them.
Well, that's great. Thanks. Thanks for that.
Sorry, who? Hello?
Yes.
What? Sorry, Eleanor. What company were you dealing with?
Travel Guardian.
Travel Guardian.
Yes.
And they helped you out.
Yes. And I don't know if the agent is still there, but her name was Deborah Wimpy.
Okay.
But I found them really good to deal with, and I know a lot of people that we spoke with at the conference 2 years ago were also using them.
Okay, well, thank you very much, because yeah, it'd be nice to have someone that maybe we can all go to that understands our situation. I haven't had much success, so I'd feel a lot better when traveling if I had insurance, because I don't want to be stuck in the States.
Yeah, and because of the fine print, that's why we said, like, so you're telling me I'm covered, but I'm gonna go there, and then if I need to make a claim, all this is gonna come up. So she actually sent an email saying that I was covered because of the oxygen and the pulmonary hypertension.
Right. Right. Yeah, because in the fine print in the insurance company, I believe I use, like if you go to a doctor for a visit 90 days prior to your travel, you're not covered. So good luck.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's the same with a lot of insurance companies, is that you have to be stable for so many days.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Even with a pre-existing condition, as long as you're
Right.
stable.
So just to clarify, that insurance is Travel Guardian, right?
Right.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
I believe they're out of Vancouver now. They were out of Alberta, but I'm thinking they're out of Vancouver now.
Okay, thanks so much for that. Just a comment here, adding to the insurance discussion, Terry says she used Global Assistance Alliance in 2009 for a trip to Greece, pre-diagnosis, but she ended up having to cancel due to getting diagnosed with cancer, but it was actually PAH and did not have cancer at all right before her trip. The insurance was amazing and refunded everything. We got all our money back by the end of the summer. It was supposed to be a trip in May, June. I think we had less trouble because the cancellation was due to a medical diagnosis. Sadly, she still hasn't made it to Greece, but happily got her money back for that trip. And we're hoping that she does get there one day. Hand up from Jody.
Hi, everybody. I think I heard earlier that to be covered for the insurance, you can't have used the O2 for 2 years prior to. Is that true?
I know Sonia in the comments says 1 year. I know we have.
Oh, you're on mute.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Yeah, Sonia in the comments says 1 year.
You're muted again.
Oh, why does it keep muting me? Can anyone speak to that? About the oxygen?
It's not all travel insurance companies. It's something to watch for, because even if you just end up being on oxygen for a couple months in the nighttime, we'll say, that would be included. So it's something to just look for in the fine lines, and it's not all companies, so just to watch for it.
Okay. And Wanda in the comments says that she's on oxygen 24/7 and she always gets insurance for travel. And she says that they use Manulife insurance through her husband John's work. And someone else commented that RBC travel insurance is pretty good as well. That was Sonia. Yeah, so that brings us to 2 o'clock.
Can I ask one other question?
Yep.
Yeah, about oxygen. If we don't, I'm the caregiver for my wife. If she doesn't use oxygen at all, has no need of it at all, but when we go flying, does she have to have oxygen when she's flying, or is there some reason, or could she not have to use it?
She'll have to use oxygen if she requires it in the air. Some people don't require it at all. Some people, there's a test that your pH specialist can give you that will assess whether or not you need it, whether your SATs drop once you're in the air. And if that's the case, then you can travel with a concentrator or however you get your oxygen. Great. Jazz?
I just want to say too, if you go on the PHA Canada website and look under resources for traveling, there's a lot of good information there as well.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks. I hope we were able to answer a few of your questions or a few of your concerns and thoughts. I know traveling, it just sounds easy. You travel, but there's so much involved, and we're all, patients with different different situations, oxygen, IV meds, and everything like that. So I hope we were able to address some of your concerns. If you have any questions, please just reach out to Jamie, to me, through Facebook, through the Canadian Friends Facebook page. If you're on Facebook, please join us there. We'll try to get your answers, answers to your questions. Jamie posted in the group chat. If you want to go through the group chat, look through some of the questions and conversations, because some people did answer the questions in there. I tried to get to them in there as best as I could. Jamie posted PHA Canada.ca/livingwithph and resources. So you can go ahead and check in there. And yeah, I hope this was informative. And yes, please reach out. We're here and we'll give you what we've got.
Nice work, Nicole.
It was great, everybody. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you, Nicole. It was good.
Thanks, Wanda. Nice to see you. Bye.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Nicole.
Bye, Joan.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks very much for all the information. Appreciate it.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Colin. Thanks, Dennis. Thanks, Jazz.
There's a session tomorrow night for oxygen users from 6 o'clock to 7.
Yeah.
Oh,
Eastern. I was
there
that's a great suggestion. Yeah, just a discussion group for folks using oxygen or interested in knowing more about oxygen. Yeah, it'll be a great discussion. I think Jeannie will be one of the hosts, one of the experts, and yeah, join that one too. That'd be great.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Nice to see you all.
Get to, so I'm gonna cut the recording here pretty soon, but I'll leave the session open so people can look at the comments for a couple more minutes.
Goodbye and thank you.
Thank you.
Hey,
Thanks, Eleanor.
hey,
Everyone.
you give me a call?